Let's get more on this then. We're joined tonight by ANC National Spokesperson Pule Mabe. Pule, very good evening to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika as always. So you say the decision by European Union countries to impose sanctions on Russia is draconian. Explain how so.
Evening and evening to your viewers. We have issued a statement articulating a position of the African National Congress on what we viewed to be a draconian move to remove Russia television, best known as RT, from the MultiChoice platform, because what it does is that it compromises the ability of citizens to be able to get information in its entirety. We have canvassed for the plurality of views, the diversity of views, regardless of what those views endorses. This is what is sacrosanct here in our country. It is one of the founding principles in our very constitution. So when such happens, limiting how our people will come to interpret global activities, especially the Russia-Ukraine conflict, doesn't help. So we've expressed ourselves in that way. But not only did we do that, we even went further. We called on the Competition Commission in this country to also begin a process of investigating what could have been the laws, quantify the laws on the part of citizens. Because when I subscribe to MultiChoice, I do so because on the bouquet of services that would affect, these are the channels that you will get. If I decide to get a premium package, for instance, it will be one that enables me to access a range or all of their services. Now, if one of those services are cut out, and yet the payment of my premiums still remain the same. Now that is not fair, because it means I'm paying for services that I'm not getting.
Okay, so you say you're paying for services that you're not getting, but MultiChoice has said they've had no control over the situation. The global distributor is not giving them the feed, so therefore they are unable to show you the channel. So why do you find that explanation bizarre?
Well, it's important that they explain that to the public. It's bizarre because it's not for the first time that MultiChoice does something like this. They've done it in the past. So if they do not act to empower citizens on their very decisions, citizens who are subscribers, because MultiChoice runs a subscription service, what have they done themselves to empower the people who rely on them for the dissemination of information about this latest development? This is what they did on Thursday, just without even putting a disclaimer on the channel. They just decided to pull out RT. You don't do that.
But Pule,
can I explain myself?
Pule, hang on a minute. You say they pulled the channel, but that's not what happened. They said they didn't have the feed, so you can't pull what you don't have. Do you agree?
Well, can I clarify you?
Just on that point, because you and I, we've got about 5 minutes, so let's just pick it up there. Do you agree that you can't pull a feed that you don't have?
I don't agree. I don't agree.
On what basis?
Because I'm sure that if it was to be pulled off the channel, surely MultiChoice was told, because whoever they've got a relationship with in that commercial agreement, things don't just happen haphazardly. I mean, MultiChoice must also act to show that they respect their customers. Just pulling off a channel without telling your customers when you were told before, I'm sure that in their own commercial agreements, if things like this are to happen, they get to drift. But even with that, we still believe that this is not a move that we must subscribe to ourselves. It undermines freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and freedom of association. So this is against what are the sacrosanct values of our very constitution.
So I'm curious about your knowledge of television contracts and who supplies what, because again, they've said, hang on a minute, Pule, I've not finished my question. Pule, I allowed you to finish your remarks. Allow me to finish my point. So if MultiChoice says to you, listen, we offer RT, Russia Today, on our bouquet, and we get it from this company that is now unable to provide us with the live feed because it is affected by European sanctions. How would you like MultiChoice to get access to the channel? Where do you suggest they plug in?
Well, Newzroom Afrika, like all other media outlets that I spoke to, we don't speak on behalf of MultiChoice. MultiChoice must come and clarify its position to the people of South Africa.
And I'm asking you a question based on your statement.
No, it doesn't. No, don't worry. We've issued our statement. MultiChoice must respond, not Newzroom Afrika. You are a broadcaster. You allow MultiChoice to speak for themselves. Why do you want to make yourself the mouthpiece of MultiChoice? Why do you do that?
Pule, let me respond to that.
Allow MultiChoice to speak for themselves.
When you issue a statement as the ANC, are you under the impression that any questioning is speaking for the person about which you've written? Because you and I, by the way, have had similar conversations, similar questions about other issues that you've raised. And in those cases, you've never said I was speaking for those people. So why do you believe that on this statement, you should not be questioned?
Well, I don't believe that. That's why I agreed to come to this interview, understanding that questions like this will come up. By the way, it is well within your right as a media outlet to raise those questions. I'm putting them out there as a response because I am saying MultiChoice must seize the moment to clarify the people of this country of its own position. They must use this moment to do exactly that. Now, we'll do that out of having a constructive conversation. I'm not saying Newzroom is wrong to ask this question. I am saying, MultiChoice, please seize the moment.
Okay.
So that it is not just us who are left in a conversation without you. Because this involves you, and the rights are entered into by yourselves. Clarify your subscribers, millions of them who are allowing you to become a conglomerate. Tell them that these are the challenges that we're going through. It shouldn't be us who then assume a position on behalf of MultiChoice without them speaking. I'm not saying you're wrong to ask the questions. No, you're completely right. But like us, I mean, you ask us about everything under the sun. Let them seize the moment as well.
Okay.
They are receiving money from subscribers. What are they saying to those people who subscribe to their premium service and are now disadvantaged from getting those? Are these people going to be reimbursed?
Okay. So I'm glad that you are pro a plurality of views in the media, because in Russia, by the way, which you say has been subjected to draconian sanctions in the last 24 hours, there's been a limit put on access to Facebook. Media channels have now been subjected to a law criminalizing, referring to the invasion of Ukraine as an invasion, as a war. Is that decision by Russia also draconian censorship?
Well, you're asking me stuff that I have not really acquainted myself with. So the challenge is that I'm going to come here.
I am appraising you now. I am telling you now what happened.
But you are asking a national spokesperson of a political party to just out of hearing something from a journalist immediately formulate an opinion. It doesn't work like that.
Pule, I'm going to ask you this question again. You're saying you're the spokesperson of a political party. You're the spokesperson of a political party that has now issued a statement, right, on an ongoing issue of international concern. In that, you've also mentioned issues to do with censorship of a plurality of voices in the media. And I am saying to you, as we sit here tonight, there are news channels in Russia, a radio station as well, who've had in the last few hours to stop because the Russian government, and you can Google this after our conversation, has now introduced a law where that says media cannot refer to what's going on in Ukraine, the invasion, as an invasion, as a war. In fact, it wants to tell them to refer to it as a special military operation as per the government's language. Now, to yourself as the spokesperson of a governing party of a democratic state of South Africa, does that to you sound like draconian censorship? Because that is an issue you've spoken out against tonight.
One would have to just get closer to the situation just to understand what you are raising, especially, I mean, you've already referred me to Google. Once I've done that and I've understood all of the issues, then we could be able to then formulate our own view. But what we believe in is that there should always be a free platform a space that allows citizens to consume, absorb, and express themselves.
So
that is what we fought for in this country. So any other thing that comes out, that's why the context is very important. You see, you must always understand the content and the context to issues. So up until we have understood that, we might be limited to actually express ourselves on the matter.
So let me ask you this. Is there any context under which you as the governing party of this country would believe any government is correct to tell the media how to define, how to describe something such as its tanks rolling into another sovereign state and beginning to fight with the military there, as is happening now? On principle. I'm asking you now on principle.
Well, just as a matter of principle, because we do not speak for other governments, we always subject ourselves to treaties, agreements and protocols of the United Nations, especially as it relates to global matters. We believe that in whatever actions that are undertaken by countries, there should always be clear regard towards human rights, and those human rights must include the ability for citizens to express themselves, use platforms in a manner that cement and contributes towards their own unity. You see, the responsibility of the usage of various platforms, whether it's social media platforms or not, requires that citizens, when they play around those spaces, they do so in a manner and way that consolidates the unity of their own country.
We're not talking also put in the same position. South Africa, if it was in the same situation as Russia now, under the ANC, would introduce law telling the media how to describe what's going on, saying you can't use certain words?
Well, as a matter of principle, because you asked the previous question and you used the word principle at the end. As a matter of principle, before you enter a fray and make what might come across as a global statement, it is only fair that you do so having understood the issues themselves. For instance, I do not know the context. You know, I'm out in the villages, so to try and want to come here, put forward views on issues that I've not even understood or came across, because I'm not in the newsroom like you do.
So the MultiChoice,
it would be unfair.
The MultiChoice RT situation developed on Wednesday or so. Is it going to take you another 3 days as the ANC to be fully appraised on what I've just told you about the ban on media using certain words in Russia? When will you have formulated a full thought as the ANC?
Well, I think that the MultiChoice situation and what you are raising now are not the same. I mean, really, you're trying to elevate your video.
Okay.
You know, we are dealing with an issue of a channel that has been removed from MultiChoice. So, and people are subscribers of MultiChoice. They do so because they use MultiChoice as a means of accessing information, both for domestic issues and globally. Now, MultiChoice did so even without giving people a disclaimer. The ANC, as a leader of society, because we speak on behalf of our people, when we see such actions, it is our responsibility to speak out. Allow those that are involved in this kind of an issue to come out and clarify the public that you as customers, because I mean, we've got, you see here, we've got the Consumer Protection Act in this country. We've got an act that protects consumers in this country. So in this country, you don't take consumers.
Pule, I'm not cutting you off, but we are out of time. You've already said all of that about what you believe MultiChoice has to answer to. Finally, quickly, yes or no, do you believe what Russia is doing in Ukraine is an invasion?
Do I believe Russia is doing what?
Do you believe that what Russia is doing in Ukraine is an invasion?
Well, one will need to really understand the issues quite further.
All right.
Pule Mabe,
spokesperson for the ANC, they're unable to say if the ANC believes at this point, 10 days into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, that the situation there is indeed an invasion. When we return,